And it looks like I am live. My name is Tina Hogan Grant. I'm an indie author, and I am doing chats every Wednesday with a fellow indie author, Beth Wurzel, and we are taking turns every week on each other's platforms. And this week we are going to be on Beth's platform, so I am waiting for Beth to invite me so we can have a nice chat together, and we're pretty much talking about our journeys as indie authors, the paths we decided to take, and what works for us and what doesn't work for us, the lessons we are learning, and questions from readers, questions from indie authors. We want to support indie authors, and we also want to reach out, and here she is right
live with Tina. Yay!
2 weeks in a row we got it to work.
I've got to say, it takes a while for... I knew you was live already before I went on, but it took forever for you to show up as being live once I clicked on the circles.
Yeah, that happened with me last week too. I saw you were live, but I think I had to click it like 3 or 4 times, and then you finally showed up.
Yeah, well, it's good. At least we can ad-lib in anyway.
I know, right? Hey, we had horrendous thunderstorms about an hour ago, just like you had last week.
Oh, really? We've had them all week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, near enough every day since last Wednesday.
Oh, you must have a lot of humidity.
It's like 50% plus.
Oh, wow.
Well, I would imagine it's probably about 70% because we've had so much rain. But yeah.
That was driving me nuts. Hey, I see some people are joining us. We got Ron, we got Melissa, we got Chanel, and it looks like Dad Life. Hey guys, how are you doing? And Books Addict joined too. And also Karen Geeling. I know Karen. How are you doing, Karen? But today we want to talk about, last week we talked about what inspired us to write our first book, our debut novel. And we thought about this week continuing on with that conversation of the next step. Now that our book is written, our manuscript is written, what choices do we have as indie authors to get our books published?
Now, I was thinking about this, Tina, because I think what we need to talk about first is, as you're writing, when you realise you are writing a book or you've started writing the book, what do you need to do? Because I think as an author or a possible author, you've got a big decision to make. And when I was writing mine, which was pure accidental from, as we discussed last week, from a brief, I had to sit and think to myself, okay, it looks like I am writing a book, but what do I want to do with it? Am I just going to write it for me, or am I going to try and get it published and get it out there for the world to judge? So that, I think, is an important question to ask yourself as a new author. And the reason I say that is because if you decide, like me, that you do want to get it out there in the world, either indie published or traditional, whatever, if you want to get it out there, you have to start early building your readership. It's never too late to start. And so the moment I realised that I was starting to, I was writing a book and I was going to push forward and get it out there into the world, I then my social media pages, and I started with Facebook, and I started sharing, my Facebook page with friends and family and people I knew, telling them that I was I was starting to write a book, and straight away I started encouraging people to get involved in my author journey. And I'm so glad I did that. I wish I'd have done it more, to be honest with you. I wish I'd done more of it, because by the time I finished Sainsbury's, I think if I'd have done more of it, I would have had a bigger amount of people to test read it, beta read it, give me their feedback, give me reviews and everything else. Was it the same for you? Did you start, as soon as you started writing your first book, did you actively try and, create your following and build up your readership before your book was published?
For me, it took, what I did, I was writing my book. I knew I wanted to publish it. That's the reason why I started writing. I didn't realize how therapeutic it would be once I started writing, so that was a bonus. but I knew I wanted to publish Reckless Beginnings. But for me, I was listening to a lot of podcasts while I was writing, and I was doing a lot of research on what authors do to promote their books. And the first thing that I did, but it was probably, I want to say 3 or 4 months after I started writing, was a website. I immediately bought my domain name, TinaHoganGrant.com, little plug there. And I immediately put up the website. I knew nothing about designing the website, so that was another hat I had to wear on how to design the website and all of that stuff. SEO, I still don't know any of that. But I started a blog, is what I did. And my blog went out, I want to say maybe twice a month. It's been so long because I don't do a blog anymore. But I did a blog for a couple of years, and it was a build-up of my book. Yeah. And what the book was about, pictures about the book, things like that. I didn't have a release date, but I just kind of put little bits and pieces out there. And yes, I got people to respond. And then around the same time is when I got onto Facebook. Yeah. But I didn't have the group. It was just my personal page. And I was putting everything on there. And then I started, I mean, the more that we would get involved in the author community, then we start picking up, oh, well, you need an author page. Oh, then you need a group. So they all came in stages. The first thing I did was a website, and I did the blog. But 2 years into the blog, for me, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to keep up on this blog. And every 2 weeks, I had to say, what am I going to say now? What am I going to say now? And I ended up switching it to a newsletter. It's kind of the same deal, but the blog stays on your website. The newsletter you take out to your subscribers. It's not on your website. And for me, for whatever reason, that works better for me, and it goes out once a month. And it's also a promotional tool for me. On the blog, I really couldn't promote, this is on sale, but in the newsletter, I feel okay doing that. So for me, it's a blog, website, blog, and then the avenues of Facebook.
I tell you what, it's amazing, isn't it? Because one of the things that I discovered as an indie author, and I don't know whether it's the same for traditionally published authors. You have to tell me, because obviously what one can publish. But when I was writing and I was, declaring that I was going to be publishing a book and giving out dates and giving snippets, the one thing I think is that people you really think are going to support you the most, they're the people don't. Yeah. And I mean, I'm really lucky because my husband's fantastic, my kids are fantastic, my mum and my sisters are absolutely amazing. But I've got friends who I've known from as how many years, and I really thought that I could count on that to help support me and get my name out there and everything else. Just did not happen. I'm just going to quickly say, Libby says it's a lot of hard work and you wear many hats being an author. Never a truer word said.
It's true. And I didn't realize that when I wrote my first book. All I was concentrating on mainly was getting my book written and finished and completed. It wasn't until I started thinking about, well, now I've got to publish this thing. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God. And I wanted to ask you too, when you wrote your book, there's so many platforms on what you can write your book on. I've always used Microsoft Word, always. I'm not sure what platform you use, but do you have a preference on what you use?
So I was in by my kids. My youngest was still in school when I started writing Earth's Angels, and they at her school they always use Google Documents, and I'm a big Apple fan. It's so easy using Apple devices as an author, because I write every opportunity I get. It works for me. So I literally downloaded Google Documents on every device, on my iPhone, on my iPad, on my Apple Mac. But the great thing about Google Documents is, one, it saves everything the moment you type it. So I have never once had Google Docs go down and lose a chapter. I've never had that ever.
No.
So the moment you type it, it saves it. And because I do write every single opportunity I get, I actually wrote the majority of Earth's Angels, sat in the car waiting for my daughter to come out of school, because I would have to park super early at the school to get space. And then I'd be sat there for like 30, 40 minutes for it to come out. So I'd be on my phone writing the next chapter.
I can't write on my phone. No.
But you know, when you've got 4 kids at home, because I do at that time, when you've got 4 kids at home and you've got endless files of laundry, to actually sit down and have me time, it's like liquid gold. So if I'm sat there in the car, damn right, I'm going to get phone out and write some. Occasionally, I would take my iPad and be there like that on my iPad. But the great thing was, I could go from one device to the next, to the next.
Yeah, they're all connected.
Pick up exactly where I left off. So for me, it was amazing, and I'm a huge Grammarly fan. Grammarly is freaking awesome, and I paid for the service, the full shebang.
Right.
I did the free version, which does help to a lot, especially as a new writer. But now I've got a whole Grammarly package, and it's not expensive. I don't even think it's like $100 a year, but it is worth its weight in gold. And that attaches to documents. So I'm literally, because I'm a typical Virgo, everything else is spot on. So I tend to do a lot of editing as I'm writing, because I cannot leave it alone. I can't
do that.
Well, I can't do it. I'll literally be typing away, and then if I see something red up here that Grammarly spotted, I have to go back and correct it. I cannot leave it alone. And
really? See, I'm the opposite. I just keep writing, and I will not, I'll keep writing. If a book takes me 6 months to write, I have not read chapter 1 in those 6 months. The next time I read chapter 1 is when I go back and start my edits before it goes to my editor. Because I know myself, if I go back and start reading, I'll spend another hour changing stuff around. But for me, I just keep writing. I get the bones of that story, as I call it. Then I go back. And sometimes if I can't think of a character's name, or I've forgotten a character's name, there's red X's right there. You know, just all red. I'll fill that in later.
Honestly, I'm a nightmare. I'm such a Virgo. We have got some comments, so I'm just going to quickly.
Okay. How am I sounding to you?
You sound perfect.
Because I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Are you? Well, let me
yeah, and I was saying this to Karen. I saw Karen joined us, but I'm using my phone, and I think my phone is having issues with the speaker.
It might be my phone. It might be my phone, because my phone.
Now I hear you clear. Maybe it's when you're sitting back. I don't know. But I had a hard time hearing you. But I got the gist of what you were saying. I didn't know if it was me or what.
It's probably my
Tina,
phone.
You sound good. Beth is a little garbled. Tina, you sound. Maybe it's you. It's your fault. It's not me.
I'll try it on my iPad or my PC next time.
Now you're doing fine.
Weird. Libby says, "Hey, lovely. Glad I could catch your live." Oh, I'm so glad you could as well. So good. Let's have a look. Libby says she uses Microsoft Word as well. I've got to say, I've been bit before with my songwriting. I would write, I'd write, a whole verse, and then it would go down and it's gone. And there's nothing worse, especially when it's taken you so long to write something. So I stick with Google Documents. Belinda,
you can connect them all to your devices too, because I have the iPad. I have everything's Apple like you.
Yeah.
But you can get the Microsoft app. But the only place I write is my laptop. I don't write on the go. I can't write on my iPad. I can't write on my iPhone. Only my laptop. So even though I can connect everything, the only place I write is my laptop.
See, with my iPad, I bought a cover case, but with a keyboard.
I have that too, but I never use it.
Oh, I love mine. Right, Belinda says, "I didn't realise how much work is involved in writing."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what?
I
Before
don't
we
think,
started, we had no idea.
I don't think any of us did.
This is, I'm really glad that Belinda actually said that, because I think if, as indie authors, we do nearly everything ourselves, whereas traditionally published authors, they, it gets edited by professionals, it gets, it goes through line editing and you name it, it's all done through the publishing house.
And the covers, everything.
Everything, yeah. But we do everything ourselves, and so much blood, sweat, and tears, and I do mean literal tears, goes into every single book that we do, because we do everything ourselves. We're editing ourselves because we haven't got the money. We're coming up with our book cover ideas, and we're marketing every single freaking day. It is insane how much work goes into doing it all ourselves.
It's a lot more than the 9 to 5 job.
Exactly. And we do everything that the publishers would do, because we are our own publishers. We're not only as you guys said, we're not only writers, but we're editors, on all levels, because there's so many different types of editors. We have to do market research. We have to go into all the keywords, the search engine optimization, but for books. We have to deal with all these different platforms for selling, all these different platforms for promoting. It is horrific. The other thing, and somebody mentioned this on social media, is that indie author books generally cost more than traditionally published books. And I'm so glad that that was brought up on social media. There is a reason for that, and that is because big publishing houses buy in bulk, so they get horrendous. Well, I don't want to say horrendous. Tremendous discounts every time they have books published for their authors, whereas we have to do pay on demand. So we literally publish our books generally through Amazon and other media, and we get charged a lot higher printing costs, because we cannot buy in bulk. We don't do that.
No, we can't. But the one thing I have noticed is that ebooks tend to be higher through a traditional publisher.
Yes.
They are. I mean, before I publish a book, I will scan the market of my genre and kind of see where the prices are for a paperback and an ebook. And I also know my readers and, what kind of ratio they're willing to buy a book for. And you're right, the paperbacks tend to be a little bit cheaper, and they have hardbacks too. But the ebooks are anywhere from $9.99 and up. The most I charge for an ebook, I think, is $5.99. It might even be $4.99. And I feel that, to me, is pricey.
But at the end of the day, the same amount of work has gone into that ebook as the paperback. So we shouldn't feel bad. But because we are competing with big publishing houses and big-time authors, we get so many people that haven't heard of us, because we're indie authors. We can't afford these big marketing budgets. So for us, our pricing is really our pricing and our description and our book blurb are really the only tools we have to compete. Oh, and of course our book covers. We've got some more comments. Belinda says, she likes Microsoft Word too. She says, I don't know how you write a book on your phone. Do you know what, Belinda? You'd be surprised.
I can't. I mean, I have a hard time texting, let alone write a book.
I'm not saying I'm fast. I'm not a fast texter or writer on my phone, but I manage.
I can't do it. But I do want to move on to about our choices.
Yes.
Once our book is written, we finish our manuscript, we're indie authors, and we want to decide what route of publishing do we want to take our book on. The choices that came to me because after I've written my book, I'm like, okay, now what? I need to publish this book, but how? I started researching, of course, traditional publishers. They call them the big five. I think within now, I'm like, well, hell no. I mean, the query alone, the query letter, is a master, is an art. You have to be able to query them in a precise way, and the wait list for waiting to see whether or not they're going to accept you. I mean, there's these certain rules of where you don't send your book out to 20 different or publishers at one time. You wait for them to get back to you. That could be 6 months. And for me, I didn't want to wait that time factor. The other one was self-publish, where like we've been talking about, I do everything, the covers, the editing, the formatting. I knew absolutely nothing about that, absolutely nothing. I wouldn't even know where to begin. The other one was going with a small publisher, and that's what I did some research on that, and I did that. They did the cover, they did the editing, but I hated it. I went with them because it was the fastest way for me, and it was the easiest. I knew nothing about publishing a book. But I've said this in our last chat, I didn't like being under contract. I didn't like not having control of my book. But I didn't realize that when I went with them. I had no clue how much they were pulling the reins and have control of my work. And I knew immediately within the first year that I would never do that again. Self-publishing is what I do now, and I will continue to do. But it was a learning curve. I had to learn everything. And what, I don't know if you have this, but what I use, because we both have Macs, is I discovered the software Volume. This software is a lifesaver. I have absolutely no clue, and still have no clue, on how to format a book. I wouldn't know where to begin. I've looked at YouTube, channels on the subject. I'm like, And I came across this Volume. It was like $2.99 back then. It is worth every single penny. I finished my manuscript, the Microsoft Word document. I upload the document into Volume. Boom. It's done. It's done. And it has all the chapters. It has all the breaks. It has the fancy letter at the beginning. I add my cover. I add my content of books I've written about the author, the copyright, everything. It will then format it in print, ebook, and generic. I'm done. It's just so easy, and all my books are done in Volume. The only things that I don't do is I don't edit, because I don't trust myself, because I read my work how I want it to read. Yeah. So I've always had an editor, and I don't do covers. I wouldn't know where to begin. For me, it's a time issue. I don't have time to learn something new. I just do not. So for me, it's a valuable asset. If I'm going to spend money on my book, first off the top is editing. Second is the cover. Yeah. And Volume is where the manuscript is. I'm done. That's what I do. So that was my journey. So how about yours?
That's amazing. See, it's amazing, isn't it? You've got two indie authors that have learned so many different things. So I queried. I was confident in my book, and I queried, and I actually managed to pay for an editor who I'm still friends with now. She's absolutely lovely. Grace Augustine on Facebook. Fantastic. And then I discovered Query Tracker. And Query Tracker, for anybody who's querying agents, is such a great tool. It's free.
I'm going to write this one down. Query Tracker.
Querytracker.com, I think it is. And it is brilliant. It tracks everything. So you can you go on, and you can basically, just like you can when you're shopping, you can filter your search. So you can filter for example, science fiction, fantasy agents. So agents who represent people for science fiction and fantasy. You can then select the country that you're in, etc., etc. So you can literally sort out who is going to, be the best people to contact. All of these agents on Query Tracker are legitimate. They are all verified. They all work for one of the top companies. So it's a really good, valuable place to locate all professionals. There's no dodgy people on there. Then it gives you like their name, the company they work for.
You can have a look at maybe somebody's put comments on there. Yeah, this person picked me up as their client, etc., etc. Loads of valuable information. So once you've checked them out, because this is one of the things that people don't realise, every agent is different. They all have their own requirements. So one agent might only want the first 5 pages of your manuscript. Another one might want 10 pages. Another one might want 25. Another one might want the first 3 chapters or the first 50 pages. So I quickly learned, every time I've queried, I quickly learned that once my manuscript was done, edited and polished, because you have to have a really polished manuscript, because if you don't, and they ask for a full manuscript because they're interested, then you've shot yourself in the foot, because you're going to send them something that isn't done. So once my manuscript is completely done and I'm confident with it, I will then obviously save the full manuscript, but then I'll save it as 5 pages, 10 pages, 25, first 3 chapters and 50 pages. Because then I've got it. Anytime I'm querying, I can send my query letter and straight away attach however many pages they want. So
this is for an agent, not a publisher.
This is for an agent, yeah.
So so you're in the process of looking for an agent.
I try to query with all of my books.
I go back and forth on the fence with getting an agent, and the one thing that prevents me from doing it, number one, when you submit your query, you have to send them an unpublished work. They don't want to see a work that's published. I couldn't send them Rector's Beginning. I couldn't send them any of my book. They want an unpublished work. For me, that's a downer, because it could take months or a year for them to even get back to you or say, well, let's send us the rest of the book. And it's like, I don't know if I want to wait this long and not publish my book.
Yeah, that is the major downside. And the good thing about Query Tracker is that it basically has like a time limit. I can't remember how long it is. I think it might be like either 3 or 6 months. I can't remember. It's been a while. But it tracks everything, so you can click that you've sent that agent a query.
So they'll keep track of everything you've done.
Keep track of how many days, blah, blah, blah. Then once you get a reply, you can update that, say I've had a reply, and it was either an email or it was a form letter and stuff like that. So basically it tracks what all these agents are doing as well.
Yeah, it's the waiting game that's a factor for me. But the plus side of getting an agent is they do the footwork and get your books out there to readers that we could probably never reach, being indie authors. And I see that with my dad, who was an author. He passed away, but he has an agent and still does for the last 30 years. And they do all the contracts, they do all the footwork, and I'm signing contracts for my dad's work in China, Japan, Russia, Germany, places that, I would never go over there and figure out how to sell my dad's books. And that's the plus side of an agent. They do that work for you, and they do get a share, which is well-earned money. So there's a definite plus side to getting an agent, but that waiting factor, because I have Secrets Told coming out next month. Now, I could have not put it to go out next month and send it with a query. Yeah. But how long would it be sitting on my desk until I get a response? That was my issue.
I think for you, you've got a great advantage now, because you've got so many books that have been published now, and you've got such a good readership base. I think all of that counts. So I think personally, an agent is more likely to take you up on one of your books, because they are great, and you've got something to back you up with it. So you've got a readership, you've already got your base, you've got fantastic reviews for your books. You can say in a query letter, and by the way, I've got this amount of followers, I've got these books published. these are the ratings for my currently published books. So you actually have an advantage over many authors that have got nothing behind them yet. So I think it's for you. You're in a better position now than you were at the beginning, for sure.
Oh, definitely. And then the other thing too is, and it just went right over my head. What was I going to say? Oh, I hate it when that happens. Does that happen to you? You want to say something, and boom, it's gone. What was I going to say about the agent thing? Oh, I know. Ugh. I'm telling myself because there is an interest for me to get an agent because of the advantages and the pluses. Is that I just need to write a book, a manuscript, and just tell myself this is not for publishing, this is for an agent, and just stick with it. And in the meantime, write a second manuscript right away, and that'll be my publishing. And then once I have that queried manuscript done and ready to go, that's the one I work with, and then I continue on with my self-publishing. And I don't know if you can confirm this. Because you know more about it. I mean, I know through my dad's agent how they work. I've never queried my dad's agent for me. Number one, the science fiction, which I don't do. And number two, they are my dad's agent. They have been for 30 years. And I don't want to put them on the spot thinking, oh, well, we owe Tina this because, she's Jim Hogan's daughter. No, because the relationship I have with them in my dad's books is very good, very special. It's been long. And if I ever lose them, I have no idea what to do with my dad's books.
Yeah, exactly.
No way. So I don't want to lose them. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable that now I'm pushing them to get me an agent. So I totally leave them out of my work because of that reason. But I don't know if this is a true fact or a rumor, but many agents will not take indie authors. They want someone that's never been published. Whether it be traditional or indie, they just want something new, fresh, not an indie. They don't go near indie authors.
See,
no?
Okay. I have to disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because you only have to look at people like Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. He was an indie self-published author when he wrote The Martian. And it just took off. He got a great following. His book. Everybody was telling each other about his book. His book sales started to, blow up.
I also think Colleen Hoover self-published her first trilogy. Okay, so that answers that question. But I've heard it back and forth in the author community that no, agents won't go near, but. No, you've been more of a researcher than me.
Rubbish. And I've spoken, and as
rubbish. I like
people,
that.
if people don't know me very well on here, I've had Mark Gottlieb, who's a top literary agent from Trident Media. I've interviewed him numerous times. We've done loads of shows together on The Witty Writers, and he's always been really open and honest about it. And and he has said in the past, it is tough for any author. But things are changing. Things are definitely changing. And if there's a market for your books, if you are getting sales, if you've got a big following, if you've worked your socks off and you've proven that there is an audience out there for your books, literary agents will pay attention.
Yeah.
They really, really will. And I think it's becoming even more so nowadays. Yeah.
And that's another reason why you need to have a base on social media, because that shows that you have a base, that you have a following, and that you've worked hard.
Yeah.
My issue is I cannot be on all these platforms. I mean, I have them. Instagram is the one where I have followers, but I am terrible about going over there and responding. I don't remember the last time I was on Instagram. And if I do go in there, I see a comment from 3 weeks ago. And I feel bad that I'm finally commenting. But we need that base. We need those views. We need those followers, because they will look at that.
Yeah, of course they will. And it's easy to link them now. I mean, obviously, Facebook owns Instagram. So the two are linked. So, if you can actually link your accounts now,
which
I have
makes
a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. But I have a major problem with that, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll explain this here. I have TikTok, right?
Yeah.
I have Instagram. On TikTok, I have 3 accounts. Okay,
Right.
I have my author account, and all I do on there is book stuff. Because if you go off track, your algorithms go off track. So if I start looking at stuff that's not to do with books, all of a sudden my feed is what I just started looking at. So I have my Book Talk account that strictly books. I look at books, I post about books, I research books. Then I have a personal account, which I hardly ever post on, but it's where I get all my news.
Yeah, yeah.
If I want to see the news or whatever, or what's going on, I go to that. Then I have Jack the Brittany, my puppy. He has his own page, and that's where I post about Jack. So I have these 3 accounts, right? I go to Instagram. I have just a regular account, but it's mainly books. Then I started Jack the Brittany, which I soon stopped. And the reason why, I posted Jack the Brittany video, but didn't switch it over on Instagram to Jack the Brittany, and it goes to my author page.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't switch automatically. If I'm on Jack the Brittany page and I say send to Instagram, I'm thinking, well, it's just going to go to Jack the Brittany. No, it went to my author page. So because of that, it's like, it's just too much.
It is. I must admit, see, I'm strict with myself. I did create an Earth's Angels page when I first started. And then I realised that my Earth's Angels page, which I did on Instagram, Twitter, and X, and everywhere, I thought once I realised that I wanted to carry on writing books, but not necessarily all related to that. I thought, what have I done? I should have just done it as an author page, and then I can just post about all of my books.
That's what I did, yeah.
So I hardly ever use my Earth Angels pages, really. I honestly don't. I use my Facebook Earth Angel account purely for advertising, for sharing my books. But other than that, I don't really post on it.
When you talk about your books, which platforms do you use the most when you talk about your books?
See, Facebook has always worked best for me. Facebook, I've been more successful on. I've got more of a following. I think I've got like 4,800 on my author page, and then obviously I've got followers on my Earth Angels page as well. But Facebook, I have generally more engagement and everything else. And obviously doing the Witty Writer show live straight to Facebook has helped massively. I mean, when I was doing regular shows with doing the Witty Writer show, I think my reach was up to like 250,000.
That's amazing.
It really got up there before we moved again.
I find that too with my Cup and the Nada show. The reach is growing. Well, I discussed it. We'll talk about those another time, but they have changed where you can stream.
Yeah,
you can no longer stream as a private group, which sucks. But for me, I use Facebook, my author page, and my group. Those are my 2 bases, my 2 platforms.
Yeah.
And we are both trying to get an audience here on TikTok. I think those are the 2 I use the most.
Yeah.
The other one I use is Pinterest. Not just to make my graphics, but I have a community board, and it has, I think, like 100,000 pins now and 27,000 members.
Wow.
This is a great thing to where you can go in, pin your stuff. People will grab your pin and put it somewhere else on their board. My website gets most traffic from Pinterest.
That's just amazing. See,
And
after
I
you
can send
mentioned
you the link to that, huh?
Yeah. After you mentioned it to me a while ago, I went on and I went back into my account, and I have started looking at. I need to try that. You might have to give me some lessons because I have no clue.
I'm not a biggie, but whenever I have a chat, whenever I post about a book, whenever I do a book on sale, I pin it. I just pin it. I don't pin every day on Pinterest, but all my chats go in there, my podcast goes in there, it goes on my author page on Pinterest, and it goes into the community board. Huh?
As a link?
It's a graphic with a link. And the other thing that's good too is I get reviews, like on Goodreads. You like Goodreads?
Yeah.
I will put the book cover on Pinterest with a link to that review on Goodreads, because you can link wherever you want. So there's book cover review from so and so with the link directly to that review. There's all kinds of ways you can mess around with Pinterest.
This is why I'm so glad that we're doing these chats, because we've been doing this for years and we are both still learning from each other. It is truly amazing. I'm going to call it quits for today.
I agree.
We are slightly over
We don't
time.
get paid overtime.
We don't get paid at all. We just do it because we love you buggers.
We do.
So what I'm going to remind everybody is thank you so much, firstly, for joining us for our chat today. It's been awesome as always. Unfortunately, the comments, when we finish the live, our comments down the bottom are not saved. We don't get to see them afterwards, and I'm sorry for your question. But please do follow us both on Facebook, Instagram, mainly Facebook, because we're both on there a lot.
Facebook and TikTok. Follow us on TikTok.
We're everywhere. We're here on TikTok. We've got YouTube channels, etc. So please shoot us a message or put a comment in there, and we will answer any questions you have. Or if you've got a topic that you'd like us to discuss, again, put it in our comments on our pages. Make sure you like and follow us, and also make sure you like and follow us and click on your notifications here, so that when we do go live again, you get told.
There you go. Perfect. Always love talking to you, Beth.
I know, you are so awesome, and thank you everybody for joining us. Tina has got a book coming out like
3 weeks.
I'm so excited for you. So please go and have a look. You can pre-order her new book now. Her details are on our author page, so please go and have a look. And we will hopefully see you next Wednesday. But just an FYI, I've just found out I need to have 3 root canals done.
Oh yeah, 3?
On our move from California to here, that molar broke and that molar broke.
I don't envy you. Well, we'll be in touch before next week, and we'll let the readers know.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
All right, great. All right, guys. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
We'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.